Georgia was incorporated into the Russian Empire by armed force in 1801. Following the breakup of the Russian Empire, Georgia restored its independence in 1918. The First Democratic Republic of Georgia. (1918) May the 26th, Tbilisi, Georgia.
Fellow citizens, in this very chamber, one country has died, the Transcaucasian Democratic Federal Republic. And now, in this same chamber, the foundations are being laid for a new country, a democratic Georgia.
These are the words with which Noé Jordania, future chairman of the Georgian government, addressed the members of the National Council as the country adopted its act of independence. Georgia's Declaration of Independence. With this text, the founders of this new Georgia stated the principles on which their country would be established.
Independent Georgia will take the political form of a democratic republic. Within its borders, the Democratic Republic of Georgia guarantees equally the civil and political rights of every citizen, irrespective of ethnicity, nationality, religious faith, social condition, or sex.
February 1919. Parliamentary elections are held in Georgia. The citizens of the country give free expression to their own political will. The Social Democratic Party wins the majority of votes and goes on to form a government. In the country's supreme legislative body, elected deputies from 3 other parties form an opposition party. 5 women, as well as representatives from almost every ethnic minority living in Georgia, enter the country's parliament, the Constituent Assembly. The Georgian Democratic Republic, which was in existence for a mere 3 years, was the first social democratic country in Europe. 1920, September. Members of the Second International visit Georgia. Ethel Snowdon, member of the British Labour Party.
You're very close to the country of terror, and yet you've resolved to fight them even unto death. I promise you that as soon as we return to Europe, our delegation will use every means at its disposal to raise awareness of Georgia's independence and to establish economic relations with you.
Albert Ingalls, Executive Director of the Second International.
What I saw during 2 days was true bravery. Nowhere else have I seen such a fearless nation.
During the period of the First Republic's existence, important new policies were implemented. The boundaries of the state were established, agricultural issues were resolved according to the interests of working people in the countryside, the government was divided into legislative, executive and judicial branches. Equality before the law was enshrined in legislation, the judiciary was reformed, a regular army was created and a People's Guard was formed. Institutions of local government were created through democratic elections, as were trade unions. Political pluralism was guaranteed through the creation of a multi-party system. Protections were introduced to ensure freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the free operation of religious, cultural, and educational institutions. Universal suffrage was introduced, along with many other civil rights. In February 1921, Georgia adopted a constitution, a document which still has a place of honor in constitutional history, thanks to its spirit of freedom and inherently democratic outlook. This document reveals a lot about life in the Georgian state at the time, as well as the concerns and attitudes of people during this period. The Constitution affirms the equality of all citizens before the law and outlaws discrimination based on social class. It affirms the equality of both sexes and guarantees their political, civil, economic and domestic rights. During its 3 years of existence, more than 20 foreign states, including Russia, formally recognized Georgia's independence. Following the restoration of statehood, Georgia focused its foreign policy on both gaining international recognition of its sovereignty and conducting independent foreign relations. Georgia opened diplomatic missions in Central Europe, Austria, Italy, Germany, and the Swiss Confederation. News footage of the fighting in February 1921. Despite this recognition, In February 1921, Soviet Russia attacked and occupied Georgia. (1991) News footage of the restoration of Georgian independence. In 1991, Georgia regained its independence. Independent Georgia is the legal and political heir of the First Republic, and even today, the state is founded on the same values that were adopted 100 years ago by our forebears in the Declaration of Independence and the country's constitution.
მე ვარ ქართველი და მაშასადა მე ვარ ევროპელი. I am Georgian and therefore I am European.
Since that time, Georgia has been progressing towards EU integration path, introducing forward-thinking reforms, strengthening democracy, the rule of law, protecting human rights, and building a liberal economy. Today, Georgia is an associate country of the European Union and an aspirant country of NATO, recognized as a leading reformer by its partners.